in yet another train crash in the city. And is the strike really off? Services remain suspended at public hospitals.
We bless God for our government, for honoring us and bringing us home.
Plus, more flee from South Sudan. And in sports, FKF hands Amrush a 5-year contract to ward off other suitors.
KTN Weekend Prime with Yvonne Okwara.
Very good evening to you. We thank you so much for joining us on this Sunday evening. It is the 22nd of December 2013. We're live on air and online. That's at www.ktnkenya.tv. Let's start off our bulletin this evening with the horrific news that was coming out of Kibera, making this a Black Sunday for Kibera's Laini Saba residents after a Uganda-bound cargo train derailed, crashing into homes and businesses. No fatalities were reported, but the incident reignited debate on the relocation of people living by the railway line. KTN's Betty Kialo brings us the story.
6:30 a.m. Sunday. A horrific scene greets residents of Laini Saba in Kibera. Residents who are in their homes, business owners who are preparing to open shop were in a matter of seconds holding on to dear life. Many escaped unhurt. However, 10 of them were trapped under the metal rubble. Rescue efforts by the Kenya Red Cross Society and St. John's Ambulance began shortly after the incident. However, the ballooning crowds hampered rescue efforts, prompting the police to cordon off the area. Those who were trapped were soon rescued and taken to Kenyatta National Hospital for treatment. The train, which was carrying 1,000 tons of wheat to Kampala, is said to have derailed, toppling on the side and falling on the structures along the railway line. However, the cause of its derailment is under investigations.
Vibanda hapa kwa reli kusaidia watu wengi. Manake kuna wale watu wanafanya biashara, unaona. So hakuna kazi zingine yenye watu wanaweza.
Heri ufanye biashara wangukiwa na reli na treni, bora tu ufanye biashara wewe.
Sio hivyo, sio ati ufanye biashara ili waangukiwe, unaona. Manake hii ajali ni ajali.
While visiting the crash site, Cabinet Secretary for Transport Engineer Michael Kamau blamed residents for settling along the railway line, saying they should be prepared to leave immediately.
It's very simple. This railway, the people found the railway here. And it is not the railway that found the people here. So that is the situation.
However, the residents we talked to had a different view.
Chenye kiondelewe ni hii reli. Ndio waingowe watutengeneze barabara ya lami, kitu haitusaidii hapa.
We don't blame anybody. This is just an accident. Na kifo kikufuata hata uko wapi itakuwa.
Tutamaliza kwenye miezi 18 project ambayo inafanyika na World Bank ikiwa imelipia serikali ya Kenya kusongesha watu mita 30 upande huu na kusongesha watu wengine mita 30 upande huu.
The Kibera train accident comes less than 2 months after the Mutindwa tragedy that saw a train crash into a public service vehicle, leaving 12 people dead. The crash led the Transport Cabinet Secretary to order for the demolition of shops around the railway line to increase visibility. But even as this was done, many families in slums like Mukuru kwa Njenga, Mukuru kwa Ruben and Kibera continue to live close to the railway lines.
In actual fact, what should happen, we should just stop rail transport in Kenya. It's impossible to have rail transport when you have people settling less than 3 feet on the road.
With plans for the expansion of railway transport in the country, incidents like the one witnessed recently prove that there's a whole lot more that needs to be done to ensure that railway services in the country attain international standards. Betty Kialo, KTN.
Meanwhile, hospitals remained deserted today in what is seen as a go-slow by sections of health workers. It is emerging that some health workers' unions may issue a fresh strike notice as the row over devolution of health services persists. KTN's Angel Katusi reports.
1 p.m. visiting hours at the Bagathi Hospital, time that friends and relatives stream in to visit patients. But it is not business as usual today. The gates are closed, no visitors to see patients. This even after the Ministry of Health, that of Devolution, and the health workers' unions signed a return to work formula on Friday that brought to an end the 2-week-long health workers' strike. It has emerged that some health workers' unions are opposed to the deal signed with the government, with some saying they were coerced into signing the agreement. The disgruntled unions are now contemplating issuing a fresh strike notice. The Kenya National Union of Nurses, which is opposed to the deal, says it will hold its National Executive Council meeting on the 24th of this month, a national delegates meeting on the 28th, meetings that are supposed to chart the way forward on the contentious issues of devolution of health services.
We wonder and we don't understand what was the rush to go and make a decision within 2 hours. You have an agreement, you have forced people, they have signed already, and yet you are not resonating with your own National Executive Council, you are not resonating with your own National Governing Council.
Although the disgruntled unions say their members will respect the court order to resume duty, they insist this does not stop them from pushing for a more comprehensive devolution process. While the confusion persists, patients were kept away from many of the public hospitals as there were no health officers to attend to them. At the Coast Provincial Hospital, doors remained closed and there was less activity in the usually busy hospital. At the Moine Referral Hospital in Eldoret, only the 17 health workers employed by the county government were available to attend to dozens of patients.
10 clinicians, clinical officers. We have 5 nurses plus 3 lab technicians.
Despite the signing of a return to work formula between the Ministries of Health, Devolution, the Council of Governors and representatives of health workers, patients continue to stream to the Kenyatta National Hospital in large numbers. Reports indicate that the Kenyatta National Hospital is still overstretched, with dozens of patients from across the country arriving on daily basis. With several wards full to capacity, an indication that normal operations are yet to resume in public hospitals. A section of rights activists will be moving to court Monday to demand an interpretation of the devolution of health services to help end the crisis. Angel Katuse, KTN.
86 more Kenyans have been evacuated from South Sudan. They arrived back home this evening just hours after another group of 22 Kenyans was evacuated by the military. The government is set to airlift more Kenyans from the troubled country, where an estimated 1,500 Kenyans are said to be stranded.
At the Wilson Airport, the second batch of Kenyans to be evacuated from South Sudan by the military arrive home safe and sound. The 86, mostly women and children, were flown back home by a Kenya Defense Forces aircraft.
We are excited to be home, and we bless God for our government, for honoring us and bringing us home.
They arrived in the country just a day after 22 Kenyans were evacuated using a Kenya Air Force aircraft. 2 of the 22 are nursing injuries. Even with the 2 evacuation missions, an estimated 1,500 Kenyans are said to be stranded in South Sudan following a coup attempt a week ago.
So we still have quite a number of trips to make to evacuate all of them.
We are using our aircrafts to take food to Juba, where there are Kenyans who are marooned there. They have run away from their homes. They don't have anything to eat. So we are taking food in the morning flights, and then in the evening when we are coming back, we are coming to the Kenyans that we can lift back home.
Some of those who were evacuated had initially sought refuge at the United Nations mission in South Sudan.
Sasa wale waliweza kujisaidia, wakasikia vizuri kidogo, wakarudi kutoka, tukaenda kwa embassy, kwa consulate, tukaongea shida yetu, ndio baadaye tukaambiwa tukuje tutapata mrudisho nyumbani.
And it is not only foreigners who are living South Sudan. Lonya Banak, a South Sudanese, left his motherland just days after being detained by rebels thought to be behind the coup attempt.
They started interrogating me and I was beaten up, locked up for 2 days. without meeting the family members.
The Kenyan government has begun dispatching food and medical supplies to South Sudan.
We are releasing 15 tons on a daily basis to ensure that those Kenyans who are remaining in Juba are given food adequate enough until we bring them back home.
The United Nations mission in South Sudan has also begun relocating non-critical staff from Juba to Entebbe in Uganda, with the remaining civilian staff in Bor taken to Juba. Rita Tinina, KTN.
As we head into the festive season, more than 500,000 Kenyans in Turkana County are facing an acute drought. Even though relief efforts are currently underway, authorities are warning that the situation could soon deteriorate. The Turkana County government has now joined efforts to supply food aid to up to 120 affected villages. The weatherman's report gave a warning since October that Turkana would be in danger of drought and possible famine after the short rains failed. The National Drought and Management Authority says it has been working to avoid a situation similar to that experienced in 2010 when Kenyans pooled resources in aid of starving Turkana residents. To matters of politics now, Deputy President William Ruto today found solace in unexpected quarters, with Nyanza politicians expressing solidarity with him over his case at the ICC. The politicians hosted Ruto at a fundraising at Ranen SDA Church in Migori County. KTN's Fredo Mulo brings the latest twist in the Jubilee administration's efforts to woo the region.
Rongo MP Dalma Sotieno, who President Kenyatta has just appointed as a mediator to the South Sudan conflict, set the ball rolling when he touched on the ICC issue.
Now I can say very bravely that if the case of Uhuru collapses, the case of Ruto must be withdrawn and no Kenyan should be sacrificed.
Let us pray for the first deputy president. If he participated in any violence, hata sisi pia tuli participate, because you are one. We were in the same boat, isn't it? Yes, we peacefully voted. That thing was spontaneous.
Migori Senator Wilfred Machage chimed in, choosing to focus on the discontent brewing within the URP wing of the Jubilee government and twisting it to favor his county.
Huku kwetu tukushukuru, tuna principal secretary mmoja, professor, tuna principal administrator mmoja, hiyo tu Migori, hao tu.
But the deputy president, more cautious than during his days as a backbencher, brushed the issue aside, dwelling on the goodies in store for the region from his government.
Maneno hii ambayo mnasikia kidogo kidogo, eti sijui nini, serikali pande hii pande ile, wachana na hiyo maneno. Serikali hii kutakuwa na wafanyikazi kutoka jamii zote, dini zote, vyama vyote. Kwa sababu hii ni serikali moja ya Wakenya wote wa taifa moja. Hatuwezi kusema eti watu waliotupigia kura peke yao ndio watafanya kazi kwa serikali.
Ruto and his wife Rachel gave 1 million shillings, while President Kenyatta and First Lady Margaret added another 1 million, bringing the total to 12 million shillings that the SDA Church will use in the construction of a conference center and a radio station. From Migori County, I am Fredo Mulo.
The Orange Democratic Party is gearing up for party elections set for February next year. This pits the party's young blood against the old guard. Some politicians are already taking a hardline position on just who should be elected during the party's National Delegates Conference. Now, while there is a push for the party to elect a youthful leadership, the party's Nairobi leadership is warning that those who have been loyal to the party should not be sacrificed.
This time, mama kupetu watu viti ovyo ovyo, atuna-nominate watu ovyo ovyo, tutawacha, tuta-nominate watu wamepigania chama, tuna-nominate watu wamepigania chama, ndio tuone wameenda mbele. Hakuna haja atunakota mtu kwa sababu ako na degree. Sasa wanasema kuna mama atakana kwe Secretary General, anatoka kule Pwani, yeye amenominatiwa na Raila kama senator, hiyo inamtosha. Mambo ya Secretary General awache sisi tupeane, tupatie Joe kutoka Coast, deputy party leader, afuate Raila. Hiyo ni mbaya. Alafu tuende pamoja tujenge hizo viti zingine. ndio chama isimame imara. Watu wa kuuza certificate za chama tutawatoa. Hapa Nairobi tutakubali hiyo. Tunataka tuone kwamba mtu yule ameshinda amepewa nini? Certificate.
Police in Nakuru have nabbed a prime suspect on their watch list, reported to have been selling terror weapons. The suspect attempted to sell a World War II bomb for 40,000 shillings.
His mission was simple: to find a willing buyer for his not-so-ordinary merchandise, a bomb. Police in Nakuru were, however, a few steps ahead of him. When a woman contacted him, pledging to buy the bomb at 40,000 shillings, John Gitonga thought he had struck gold. The woman, however, turned out to be a police constable, rendering John's mission impossible.
The man came up with the object. We arrested him, and when we tried to verify, we found it to be a bomb, a 90mm bomb. That is rife, it can explode in time.
The consequences are now staring him in the face as John prepares to answer to charges of being found in possession of terror weapons. Police, on the other hand, say that arresting John was just a small piece of an even bigger puzzle. Another suspect on the police watch list is still on the loose. The man is linked to transactions of deadly weapons within the region.
It's a big bomb. It can cause, if it lands in Nakuru town, it will injure even up to 100 people. And a lot of damages because it's ripe.
With the rise of terrorism activities in the country this year, Kenyans have been urged to remain vigilant, especially during the festive season. As you continue with your holiday plans, you have been advised to observe simple but critical precautions, including vehicles, packages or luggage left unattended, persons appearing to count pedestrians or vehicles, individuals appearing to be loitering in public places, and vehicles appearing overloaded. Police say that any suspicious activity should be reported to help avert any planned attacks. Ashimwilu, KTN, Weekend Prime.
Many thanks for staying with us on KTN Weekend Prime this Sunday evening. Now, there's no doubt that residents of Kiambaa in Eldoret would rather forget the area's painful history. One woman, however, says no one should forget the actions of those who put their lives on the line to save others. Mercy Kandia brings us her story on mending the fabric.
And the task before all of us is to secure the gains that we've made while focusing on solving the challenges that remain.
What we want is to build one Kenya, one united Kenya.
Na hii Kenya tumeijenga kwa muda mrefu. Kwa nini tunataka kujaribu one day?
Had to cut short her work to grant us an interview. Early in the morning, no one is ever at home here. In almost all the homes, either the children have gone to school or the parents have gone to do odd jobs. The new face of Kiambaa village in Uasin Gishu County, the face of hard work and that of determination to move past a dark past, the tribal clashes of the post-election violence.
Kwa majina naitwa Ann Jeruta Ngetich. Nimeolewa Kiambaa na Pita Njogu Kirogo na tumeishi tangu 1990.
Anne had to turn her back to those who did not support her marriage to someone from another community, a path she chose, one that she has been on for 23 years now, with a bad reminder every election year, the 2007 post-election violence being the peak of it all.
Siku hii haikuwa rahisi sababu hao wote kama ni Wakikuyu walikuwa na hawatakikani, lakini huko kwetu haikuwa mbaya zaidi sababu Wakikuyu walikuwa wanafichwa na Wanandi. Juu 1992 ilitokea hivyo, lakini maafa ikafanyika. Sasa watu hawakutaka warudie hiyo maneno tena.
The house they live in is a downgrade of what they had before the violence. These ones were built by non-governmental organizations and the Ministry of Special Programs.
Hakuna kitu tuliokoa. Tulijiokoa tu peke yetu.
It is farming season in Kiambaa. There is a lot of work to be done. Anne's husband, Peter Njogu, was out looking for odd jobs. Their 5 children have to get something to eat. The atmosphere is different, Anne says. Even amidst the violence then, Anne says her small village in Bindura strived to protect her family. The untold story of those who stood together despite their differences.
Alisema hawezi huwa ng'ombe na mtoto yake yako hapo. Yani ni methali ya Kalenjin.
And when the dust settled, they moved back to Kiambaa, starting from scratch, moving towards an uncertain future, but one in which they have placed their hopes nonetheless. So her children and the next generation can not only know better, but live better as well.
Hakuna regrets vile niliolewa kwa kabila ingine. Sababu hakuna mtu mwenye, yani watu yote wako sawa. Na hakuna kuyani kurudi nyuma ati nilifanya mbaya ama nini. Sababu hata saa ingine ungeolewa kabila yako ungekuwa vile uko.
A few meters from her home are the graves of the over 30 people who died at the KAG church fire at the height of the violence. Visible reminders to the hard-working community of a past that many here hope will remain that in the past, a sad patch of history to be learnt from. The March 4th general election was one election that came with relief to the residents of Kiambaa. No violence was witnessed in this area. And just as this locked gates will lead you to the graves of the aftermath of the then disputed election of 2007, it is the hope of the residents of Kiambaa that the chapter of tribalism will forever be locked in this area, that they will live as brothers and sisters. Masi Kandie, KTN, Kiambaa, Uasin Gishu County.
Back. Let's have a recap for you of our top story tonight right here on KTN Weekend Prime. It was a Black Sunday for Kibera's Laini Saba residents after a Uganda-bound cargo train derailed, crashing into homes and businesses. 10 people were injured in the incident that has reignited debate on the relocation of people living by the railway line. Transport Cabinet Secretary Engineer Michael Kamau said the government will fast-track the relocation of people and structures next to the railway line to ensure such tragedies are avoided. Leaders who visited the scene of the accident called on the locals to heed the warning to stay away from the railway line. Residents, visitors and tourists in Mombasa City were treated to a colorful display of coastal culture as various communities came together to stage the annual Mombasa Street Carnival. KTN's Sharon Momanyi was there and has the details. Energy is set to sign a mining contract expected to add over 960 megawatts of energy to the national grid. The contract with Chinese firm Fengji Mining Industry Group will be signed tomorrow in Mwingi Town. Energy Cabinet Secretary Davis Chirchir says host communities will benefit from the project, which involves 2 blocks of the Moikol Basin. The Law Society of Kenya Chairman Eric Mutua also urged investors from the county to participate in the project.
The question that immediately comes to mind is, do we still have Lamu as the first thermal plant with coal coming from South Africa, or do we have Kitui as the first thermal plant with 960 megawatts coming out of Kitui, coal mouth, because we have our own coal? And where does that take us with the price of power to be able to be truly a low-cost country, attracting global firms who invest because of the competitive advantage of Kenya being able to deliver the cost of power?
We had raised certain issues respecting amendment to the business sharing, BSA, and those issues have been approved by both the government and the concessionaire via a letter dated 18th of December 2013 from the Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, and a further confirmation from the concessionaire, that is Fengji Mining Industry Limited, a letter dated today, the 22nd December 2013.
Sports news now. National soccer head coach Adel Amrush has been handed a 5-year contract extension by Football Kenya Federation in a bid to ward off prospective suitors. The federation confirmed that the government will foot Amrush's salary.
When announcing the extension, the federation confirmed that the government will undertake to pay Amrush's salaries. However, the man of the moment was conspicuously absent.
We have given him a 5-year contract from 1st of January. Arrangements are in place with the Ministry of Sports for us to arrange on how his salaries are going to be paid.
The 2013 Basketball League will be known tomorrow after the Kenya Ports Authority and USIU played to a 2-all draw in Game 4 of the league playoffs. With a 2-1 advantage, the Dockers could have wrapped up the season with a win, but could not break down the resilient students who won today's match 75-51. The Thika Road-based side took the first quarter 2019 before following it up with a 19-12 win in the second quarter. KPA fought back USIU's attempts but were wasteful as they lost 18-16. Their fate was sealed in the final quarter, going down 18-7. Hilda Indasi made sure of the win for USIU. Now the results mean that the two sides have drawn 2-all and Game 5 will decide this season's winner tomorrow. Urusi FC are the winners of this year's Kisumu Football Championship after trouncing Pro 16 FC 1-0 in a nail-biting final that crowned the 8-month tourney. The annual contest that has been running for the last 4 years is an initiative that brings together amateur teams across Kisumu County that act as feeders into the First Division and Premier League. KTN's Alfredo Mulo brings us the story.
After 250 days of constant contests, victories and losses, Urusi FC of Kisumu Central grabbed the champions crown in their first year of participation. Second place went to Pro 16 and Obwolo followed in third. Urusi were awarded 75,000 shillings, a team kit and a trophy.
We are planning to develop a professional team in Kisumu. We've come to realize that Kisumu is one area that actually develop a lot talent of young people in football, but they don't have a team even in Premier League.
Big Picture CEO Richard Ogendo, who has sustained the initiative over its lifespan, has big dreams for Kisumu football.
We have to believe in our youth. Everything we do, we have to believe in our youth. So I'm going to persist that we continue this tournament until somebody listens and says, okay, these people are doing a good job, we're going to join in.
The tournament aims at nurturing soccer players who can grow into the national and international arenas, considering the abundance of talent in the region. For KTN Sports, I am Fredo Mulo.
Well, let's get on to some good news, especially with Christmas just a few days away. Thousands of carolers gathered outside the home of a terminally ill girl in the U.S. state of Pennsylvania to help make one of her final wishes come true. 8-year-old Delaney was diagnosed with leukemia in May. Now, according to the family, the girl only has days to live, if not weeks. Here is the rest of that story.
Songs filled the air tonight. Christmas carols reminding everyone of the true spirit of the holiday season. Delaney Brown, affectionately called Laney, had a Christmas wish and a dying wish, a street full of carolers. But they brought more than just song. They offered hope and compassion.
I can't even express how I feel.
People packed the block, and some think the turnout was a sign from above.
That this was God's way of saying, okay, listen, I need you to go over and see my little angel and give her off that singing that she deserves.
Nearly 10,000 people sang for Laney, and her dance team saluted her with one final number. Laney was too weak to see her wish come true, but she heard it and she felt it. Laney let the world know she was there in spirit by posting this photo to her Facebook page.
Heartwarming indeed, especially as we go into the festive season. We're just 2 or is it 3 days away from that. Thank you indeed for watching the Bulletin tonight, and indeed for being with us throughout the year. It's not goodbye for the year, but it means I'll see you next week right after the Christmas festivities. Have a Merry Christmas, and in whatever you do and however you celebrate, please remember the reason for the season. My name is Yvonne Okwara. Have a good night and Merry Christmas.